The power of us. How to nurture healthy relationships. Foundations of togetherness. Human beings are wired for connection. From the very beginning of our existence, relationships shape our identity, influence our emotions, and provide a framework for how we navigate the world. The foundation of any healthy relationship lies not only in shared experiences or common interests, but in something much deeper in understanding of ourselves and the fundamental ways we relate to others. Togetherness is not just about being physically close. It is about creating a safe emotional space where both people feel seen, heard, and valued. It begins with the recognition that love, respect, and commitment are the soil in which the roots of connection grow. Yet, many of us approach relationships with hidden expectations and unspoken assumptions, often unconsciously repeating patterns learned in childhood or past relationships. These patterns can cloud our ability to truly connect. To nurture healthy relationships, the first step is awareness. We must look inward and identify what we bring into our partnerships, the fears, desires, wounds, and hopes. This self-awareness creates the groundwork upon which genuine connection is built. When we understand ourselves, we are less likely to project unmet needs onto others or expect them to fill voids that only we can address. The foundation of togetherness also calls for vulnerability. It requires courage to lower our defenses and allow another person into the sacred spaces of our hearts. Vulnerability is often misunderstood as weakness, but it is actually the strongest form of authenticity. It opens the door to empathy, compassion, and mutual support. When two people show up authentically, the relationship shifts from superficial interaction to soulful exchange. This shift is what fosters intimacy, not just physical intimacy, but emotional and spiritual intimacy as well. Trust grows naturally from this vulnerability. Trust is the quiet assurance that, no matter what happens, there is a safe harbor in the other person's presence. It is not given lightly, and it cannot be rushed. Trust builds over time through consistent actions, honest communication, and unwavering respect. Without trust, even the most passionate relationships falter because insecurity and doubt erode the connection. But when trust is nurtured, it strengthens the bond and creates a resilient foundation that can withstand life's inevitable challenges. At the core of togetherness is the principle of mutual respect. Respect honors the individuality of each person and the uniqueness they bring to the relationship. It means embracing differences without judgment, listening without interruption, and valuing the other's perspective. Mutual respect requires that both people feel free to be themselves without fear of rejection or ridicule. When respect flourishes, it cultivates a fertile ground for love to grow deeper and more authentic. Another key element in laying this foundation is shared intention. Healthy relationships do not simply happen, they are created consciously. Couples who nurture healthy bonds often set intentions together to grow, to support each other, to create joy and fulfillment. These intentions act as guiding stars, aligning efforts and energy toward a common vision. Without this shared purpose, relationships can drift into complacency or conflict. Intentions keep the connection alive by reminding both individuals why they chose to be together and what they hope to build. Patience is another silent but powerful force in building strong foundations. Relationships require time to unfold, like a flower blooming gradually in its own rhythm. We often expect immediate results, instant harmony, or effortless understanding, but love's true depth emerges slowly through small moments of kindness, forgiveness, and grace. Patience allows space for mistakes and growth, reminding us that the journey together is as important as the destination. In addition to patience, compassion plays a vital role. Compassion softens harsh judgments and opens our hearts to empathy. It helps us see beyond surface behaviors to the deeper emotions and needs beneath. When we approach each other with compassion, we choose understanding over blame, healing over resentment. Compassion fuels resilience, allowing relationships to heal from wounds and continue evolving. The foundation of togetherness also involves a commitment to presence. In a world full of distractions and demands, being truly present with another person is a gift. Presence means active listening, genuine curiosity, and mindfulness giving. The other, your full attention without planning responses or letting your mind wander. This kind of presence nurtures connection by affirming that the other person matters deeply in that moment. It builds emotional safety and reinforces trust. Boundaries are often overlooked in discussions about togetherness, but they are essential. Healthy boundaries define what is acceptable and what is not, protecting the emotional well-being of both individuals. Boundaries prevent resentment and burnout by allowing each person to maintain their sense of self while being part of a partnership. They're not walls but flexible guidelines that honor individual needs and the relationship's health. As we build these foundations, it's important to remember that relationships are dynamic, living entities. They grow, change, and sometimes face storms. The strength of the foundation determines how well the relationship weathers challenges. When we invest in understanding ourselves, practicing vulnerability, cultivating trust, honoring respect, setting shared intentions, and embracing patience and compassion, we create a resilient base that supports growth, joy, and deep connection. Togetherness is not about losing yourself in another. It is about coming together as whole, authentic individuals who choose to walk life's path side by side. It is a dance of balancing closeness and independence, giving and receiving, leading and following. The foundation we lay today is the beginning of a journey filled with discovery, healing, and love that stands the test of time. The language of connection. Communication is the lifeblood of any relationship. Without it, even the strongest bonds can wither and fade. Yet, communication is much more than the exchange of words. It is a complex language that includes tone, body language, empathy, and emotional resonance. To nurture healthy relationships, we must learn to speak and listen in ways that deepen understanding rather than create distance. The language of connection invites us to be present, honest, and compassionate, forging bridges where walls might otherwise arise. At the heart of this language lies the art of listening. Listening is often undervalued and misunderstood. Many believe listening means simply hearing words, but true listening is an active, intentional act. It requires setting aside distractions, suspending judgment, and tuning into not only what is said but what is felt beneath the words. When we listen deeply, we validate the other person's experience, making them feel seen and valued. This validation is a powerful gift that nurtures trust and invites openness. Active listening involves more than quiet attention. It requires engagement, paraphrasing, asking clarifying questions, and reflecting emotions help confirm that we truly understand. For example, saying, "It sounds like you're feeling overwhelmed," shows empathy and encourages deeper sharing. Without this engagement, conversations can become monologues or missed connections. The language of connection demands that we be curious and compassionate listeners who seek to understand before responding. Equally important is how we express ourselves. Honest self-expression creates clarity and vulnerability, reducing misunderstandings and resentment. It means speaking our truth with kindness and respect, rather than blaming or criticizing. The I statement is a powerful tool in this regard, framing our feelings and needs from our own perspective, rather than accusing the other. Saying, "I feel hurt when plans change last minute," rather than "you never stick to plans," invites dialogue instead of defensiveness. This simple shift fosters cooperation and healing. Nonverbal communication also plays a profound role. Our facial expressions, gestures, posture, and tone of voice often speak louder than words. Being mindful of these signals can prevent miscommunication and convey warmth, safety, and love. For instance, maintaining eye contact, nodding, and leaning in subtly signal attention and care. Conversely, crossed arms, avoidance of eye contact, or a harsh tone can create distance and mistrust. Cultivating awareness of our body language allows us to align what we say with what we feel and intend. Emotional honesty and transparency are crucial in the language of connection. Suppressing feelings or hiding doubts can lead to isolation and confusion. When we openly share our inner world, our joys, fears, hopes, and disappointments, we invite intimacy. This openness requires courage, because it makes us vulnerable to judgment or rejection. However, the reward is a deeper bond where both partners can meet authentically. Emotional honesty also encourages mutual support, enabling both people to grow individually and together. Another vital aspect is the ability to handle conflict constructively. Conflict is inevitable in any relationship, but it need not be destructive. The language of connection teaches us to approach disagreements not as battles to win, but as opportunities to understand and grow. This requires patience, empathy, and a commitment to finding common ground. Avoiding blame, staying calm, and focusing on the issue rather than personal attacks are essential skills. Using phrases like, "help me understand your perspective," rather than "you're wrong," can transform conflict into dialogue. The skill of giving and receiving feedback is part of this constructive communication. Honest feedback helps partners adjust behaviors that may harm the relationship, while positive feedback reinforces love and appreciation. Delivering feedback with kindness and specificity, and receiving it with openness rather than defensiveness, strengthens trust and growth. It is a dance of respect and humility that allows both people to evolve together. Silence, often overlooked, is another powerful component of the language of connection. Sharing comfortable silence signals a deep level of comfort and trust. It shows that presence alone can be enough, that words are not always necessary to feel connected. Embracing silence in relationships allows space for reflection, calming the mind and opening the heart. It also prevents impulsive reactions that might damage the connection. Technology has introduced new challenges and opportunities in communication. Text messages, emails, and social media provide quick ways to stay connected, but can also lead to misunderstandings due to lack of tone and nuance. Healthy relationships use technology thoughtfully, ensuring it enhances rather than replaces meaningful face-to-face or voice interactions. Setting boundaries around digital communication, such as device-free times or zones, helps preserve emotional intimacy. Cultural differences and personal backgrounds also influence communication styles. Understanding and honoring these differences fosters respect and reduces conflict. For instance, some cultures value directness, while others prioritize harmony and indirect expression. Learning about our partner's communication preferences and adapting accordingly shows empathy and dedication to connection. Listening and speaking are only part of the equation. What we say to ourselves internally also shapes our relationships. The inner dialogue influences how we interpret others' words and actions. Cultivating a positive, compassionate inner voice helps us approach relationships with openness rather than suspicion. When we are kind to ourselves, we extend that kindness to others. The language of connection ultimately invites us to move beyond transactional exchanges into soulful conversations. It encourages us to share dreams, fears, memories, and vulnerabilities that build rich emotional landscapes. This depth of communication transforms relationships into sanctuaries of love, growth, and healing. It reminds us that every word, every glance, every gesture carries the potential to either build walls or open doors. In nurturing this language, we also develop patience. Learning to communicate well is a lifelong process that requires practice, humility, and forgiveness. There will be moments of missteps and misunderstandings, but these too become opportunities for learning and connection when approached with grace. The beauty of the language of connection is that it honors both individuality and unity. It allows us to hold our own truths while deeply appreciating another's. It builds bridges over differences and creates spaces where both people can feel free and safe. This language is a sacred gift tone that deepens not only our relationships but also our understanding of what it means to be human. Heartfelt awareness. Heartfelt awareness is the gentle art of opening ourselves fully to the present moment, to our emotions, our fears, our hopes without judgment or resistance. It is the courage to meet ourselves and others with honesty and compassion, creating a deep and authentic connection that nurtures healthy relationships. This awareness invites us to embrace vulnerability, not as a weakness, but as the very foundation of trust and love. In a world that often values strength as stoicism and self-reliance, heartfelt awareness asks us to soften. It encourages us to drop the protective masks we wear, the facades of perfection, control, or indifference, and instead show up as our true selves, raw and imperfect. This process is not easy. It requires bravery to admit our fears, to share our doubts, and to express emotions that might leave us feeling exposed. Yet this openness is what transforms relationships from superficial interactions into profound bonds. At the core of heartfelt awareness lies self-acceptance. When we fully acknowledge our own feelings and imperfections, we no longer need to hide or defend ourselves. This self-compassion makes it possible to bring our whole being into relationships, our light and shadow alike. It also helps us recognize when old wounds and insecurities influence our reactions, allowing us to communicate from a place of understanding rather than defensiveness. Heartfelt awareness fosters emotional safety between people. When one person dares to share openly, it invites the other to do the same, creating a sacred exchange of trust. For example, revealing feelings of vulnerability like jealousy or fear can be unsettling, but when expressed with kindness, it becomes a bridge to deeper understanding and reassurance. This mutual openness turns potential barriers into pathways for closeness. This awareness is not a solo act, but a shared dance, where both partners learn to listen deeply and respond with empathy. Active, non-judgmental listening creates a space where vulnerability can flourish. It tells the other person, "I see you. Your feelings matter. You are safe here." Such presence is a powerful gift that strengthens emotional intimacy and fosters healing. Yet heartfelt awareness is not about indiscriminately sharing every thought or emotion. It requires discernment and respect for boundaries. Knowing what to share, when, and with whom ensures that vulnerability remains nurturing rather than overwhelming. Healthy boundaries honor each person's need for safety while still encouraging openness. Often, our fear of vulnerability stems from past hurts or societal messages that discourage emotional expression. Childhood experiences of rejection or neglect teach us to hide our true selves, while cultural ideals of toughness pressure us to appear invulnerable. Heartfelt awareness invites us to recognize and gently challenge these patterns, choosing instead to embrace openness as a source of strength and connection. This kind of awareness also leads to personal growth. By being seen authentically, we uncover areas where healing is needed and allow support to enter our lives. Sharing struggles and fears with trusted loved ones invites resilience and empowerment, making relationships a source of nourishment rather than stress. Nonverbal cues are an essential part of heartfelt awareness. A simple touch, a caring glance, or a shared silence can communicate vulnerability more powerfully than words. Being attuned to these subtle signals deepens our empathy and enriches our emotional connection beyond what speech alone can achieve. Heartfelt awareness moves with the rhythms of life. It rises and falls, sometimes strong and open, other times guarded and quiet. Honoring these natural cycles with kindness and patience fosters greater self-compassion and helps us stay grounded in the ongoing journey of connection. To cultivate heartfelt awareness, practical tools can help. Journaling offers a private space to explore emotions and prepare for sharing. Mindfulness practices train us to observe feelings without judgment, reducing reactive patterns. Role-playing difficult conversations or seeking therapy can build confidence and deepen understanding. In moments of conflict, heartfelt awareness can transform tension into connection. Choosing to express feelings vulnerably instead of reacting with blame invites empathy and healing. Saying, "I feel hurt when this happens," rather than, "You did wrong," opens the door for dialogue and reconciliation, strengthening the bond instead of weakening it. Moreover, heartfelt awareness helps clarify and uphold healthy boundaries. Openly expressing discomfort or limits communicates respect for oneself and others. This balance of openness and protection creates relationships that are both intimate and safe, where each person can thrive. This awareness extends beyond romantic relationships to friendships, family ties, and community connections. Sharing our true selves fosters belonging and shared humanity, reminding us that we are not alone in our struggles or joys. Ultimately, heartfelt awareness is an invitation to live and love fully. It teaches us that genuine connection comes from embracing our vulnerability and authenticity. This awareness is the language of the heart, a bridge to ourselves and others that leads to deeper meaning, growth, and healing. Boundaries and freedom. At first glance, the idea of boundaries might seem to conflict with freedom. After all, boundaries are often thought of as limits, restrictions, or walls that contain us. Yet, true freedom, especially in relationships and personal, grow this deeply intertwined with the ability to set and respect boundaries. Boundaries are not prisons. They are the gates that protect our inner world, allowing us to move through life with clarity, safety, and dignity. When we understand and embrace boundaries, we find a powerful freedom that nurtures both ourselves and our connections with others. Boundaries define where one person ends and another begins. They mark the space for individuality, ensuring that our needs, values, and feelings are honored without being overshadowed or violated. Without boundaries, relationships can become entangled with confusion, resentment, or codependency. We may lose sight of who we are, sacrificing ourselves to please others or avoid conflict. This loss leads to inner turmoil, eroding our sense of freedom and self-worth. By contrast, clear boundaries create the conditions for authentic connection, where each person feels safe, respected, and free to be themselves. It is essential to recognize that boundaries are not about control or punishment. They are expressions of self-love and self-respect. Setting a boundary might mean saying no to requests that drain our energy, voicing discomfort with certain behaviors, or protecting our time and space. These actions might feel uncomfortable at first, especially if we fear rejection or disapproval. However, the freedom gained from honoring our limits far outweighs the temporary discomfort. Boundaries protect our mental and emotional health, allowing us to engage with others from a place of abundance rather than depletion. Boundaries also foster mutual respect. When we communicate our limits clearly, we invite others to do the same. This reciprocal understanding cultivates balanced relationships where both parties feel heard and valued. Without boundaries, relationships risk becoming one-sided, fostering resentment or burnout. The freedom that comes from balanced exchanges supports long-term connection, trust, and emotional intimacy. It is important to distinguish between rigid and healthy boundaries. Rigid boundaries are walls built out of fear or past wounds, shutting others out completely or rejecting help and intimacy. Such walls might protect us temporarily, but ultimately isolate us, cutting off the very connections that nourish us. Healthy boundaries, on the other hand, are flexible and evolving. They invite openness but also signal where respect is needed. They balance protection with vulnerability, creating space for growth and closeness. Learning to set boundaries begins with self-awareness. We must tune into our feelings, notice when we feel drained, uncomfortable, or overwhelmed. These feelings are often signals that a boundary has been crossed or needs to be established. Developing this inner awareness is an act of freedom, empowering us to live authentically rather than react unconsciously to others' demands. Expressing boundaries requires courage and clear communication. It is not enough to simply feel that a limit exists. We must also share it with others in a way that is respectful and firm. This communication might take the form of direct statements like, "I need some time to myself this evening," or "I feel uncomfortable when you raise your voice." The goal is to express needs without blame, inviting understanding rather than conflict. Boundaries are particularly vital in intimate relationships. Partners who respect each other's boundaries create a foundation of trust and emotional safety. For example, respecting privacy, individual interests, and emotional limits helps each person maintain their identity within the relationship. This balance prevents codependency and nurtures a love that is free, not possessive or controlling. Moreover, boundaries contribute to freedom by protecting our time and energy, two of our most precious resources. In today's fast-paced world, it is easy to become overcommitted or distracted by others' demands. Setting boundaries around work, social engagements, and technology use helps us prioritize what truly matters. This intentional living creates space for joy, creativity, and meaningful connection. Cultural and familial influences often shape our understanding of boundaries. Some cultures emphasize collectivism and closeness, sometimes at the expense of individual limits. Others promote independence but may undervalue emotional closeness. Recognizing these influences allows us to consciously choose boundaries that serve our well-being and relationships, rather than simply repeating inherited patterns. Boundaries also intersect with forgiveness and compassion. Setting limits does not mean withholding love or cutting people out of our lives. Rather, it means creating conditions where love can thrive without harm. Forgiveness might involve releasing resentment, but it does not require sacrificing one's own safety or values. Compassion for ourselves and others grows when boundaries clarify how to engage healthily. Children, too, benefit deeply from learning about boundaries. Teaching young people to recognize and express their limits fosters self-confidence and respect for others. It helps prevent abuse and cultivates empathy, understanding that others have boundaries as well. This early education lays the groundwork for adult relationships, rooted in freedom and respect. At times, boundary setting may trigger discomfort or pushback from others who are unused to hearing no or encountering limits. This resistance can challenge our resolve, tempting us to retreat or revert to old patterns. Yet, each act of boundary setting is an assertion of freedom, a step toward living fully and authentically. Over time, those around us often come to appreciate the clarity and respect that healthy boundaries bring. The freedom that boundaries create is not just external but deeply internal. It is the freedom to be ourselves without apology or shame, to pursue our dreams without guilt, and to engage with others from a place of wholeness rather than neediness. Boundaries nourish our sense of self, allowing us to show up in the world with confidence and peace. In practice, cultivating healthy boundaries is an ongoing journey. Life circumstances, relationships, and personal growth continually shift, inviting us to revisit and adjust our limits. This process is an expression of self-care and self-discovery, a commitment to living in alignment with our truth. Boundaries are gifts we give ourselves and those we love. They create the fertile ground where freedom and connection coexist. By embracing boundaries, we reclaim our power, honor our worth, and open the door to richer, more meaningful relationships. In the dance of love and life, boundaries and freedom move together, guiding us toward harmony, respect, and authentic connection. The courage to be seen. The journey to authentic connection, self-love, and meaningful relationships always leads us to one essential crossroads: the courage to be seen. To be truly seen is to reveal the core of who we are, our hopes, fears, vulnerabilities, strengths, and imperfections, without the mask of perfection or the shield of pretense. It is one of the bravest acts we can perform because it invites the possibility of rejection and judgment, but also the profound potential for acceptance, understanding, and belonging. In a world that often values appearances, achievements, and superficial success, the courage to be seen requires us to dismantle the walls we have built around ourselves and step into the light of genuine vulnerability. Being seen is fundamentally about authenticity. Authenticity means living in alignment with our true self or values, desires, and emotions, rather than conforming to external expectations or societal roles. It means shedding the layers of should and must to embrace our unique story and voice. However, this shedding is no small feat. From childhood, many of us are taught to hide our weaknesses, suppress our feelings, and conform to fit in. We learn to fear being too much or too little, too loud or too quiet. These fears create an internal barrier that keeps us safely hidden but emotionally isolated. The courage to be seen demands that we dismantle this barrier piece by piece. It starts with self-awareness, recognizing the parts of ourselves that we have hidden, judged, or rejected. This might be the shy child who was told to be quieter, the creative spirit told to focus on practical things, or the sensitive soul told to toughen up. Whatever the reason, these parts of ourselves crave acknowledgement and acceptance. When we begin to see and embrace our whole self, we cultivate an inner safety that makes it easier to reveal ourselves outwardly. To be seen is also to be vulnerable, and vulnerability is often misunderstood as weakness. In reality, vulnerability is the gateway to courage and connection. It means allowing ourselves to be imperfect and uncertain, to ask for help, to share our true feelings, and to take emotional risks. It means showing up without guarantees that we will be loved or accepted. This kind of courage requires deep trust, not only in others, but in ourselves. Trusting ourselves enough to be seen involves believing that we are worthy of love and respect, just as we are. It is a radical form of self-compassion that defies the harsh inner critic. When we cultivate this trust, we become less dependent on external validation and more grounded in our own truth. This inner foundation protects us when others fail to see or appreciate us fully. Yet, the fear of rejection is real and powerful. It can keep us locked in patterns of invisibility, masking our opinions, desires, or emotions to avoid conflict or disapproval. It can lead to silence in relationships, social withdrawal, or codependency. Overcoming this fear requires persistent courage and practice. We must learn to tolerate discomfort, challenge negative beliefs, and gradually expand our willingness to be seen in safe and supportive environments. One practical step toward this courage is honest communication. Sharing our feelings, needs, and boundaries openly invites others into our inner world. It also signals that we respect ourselves enough to be truthful, regardless of the outcome. This openness can deepen intimacy, foster mutual understanding, and dissolve loneliness. Even when met with misunderstanding or rejection, honest expression honors our authenticity and strengthens our resilience. Being seen also involves embracing imperfection. Perfectionism can be a major barrier, convincing us that we must hide flaws to be lovable. Yet, imperfections are the very texture that makes us human and relatable. When we reveal our struggles, doubts, and failures, we invite others to do the same, creating a space of shared humanity and compassion. This mutual vulnerability is the foundation of deep emotional intimacy. In relationships, the courage to be seen enriches connection and trust. Partners who show their true selves foster an atmosphere of acceptance and safety. They move beyond superficial roles or expectations to encounter one another fully and honestly. This courage also challenges societal myths about love, that it requires perfection, sacrifice, or self-denial. Instead, it reveals that love thrives on honesty, respect, and the willingness to witness each other's true selves. This courage extends beyond romantic relationships. It is vital in friendships, family ties, and professional interactions. Being seen at work means expressing ideas without fear, admitting mistakes, and asking for support. In families, it means breaking cycles of silence and shame by sharing stories and feelings openly. In friendships, it means showing up authentically rather than performing roles to gain approval. The digital age presents both challenges and opportunities for this courage. On one hand, social media can encourage curated images of perfection, making authenticity feel risky or rare. On the other hand, online communities offer spaces for sharing vulnerabilities and finding support. Navigating this landscape requires intentionality, choosing when and how to be seen in ways that honor our values and safety. Cultivating the courage to be seen also requires nurturing our inner relationship. Practices such as mindfulness, journaling, and meditation help us observe our fears and desires without judgment. These practices build emotional resilience and self-awareness, empowering us to step into the light even when fear whispers otherwise. They remind us that being seen begins within, with the willingness to witness ourselves honestly and compassionately. It is important to acknowledge that being seen is not a one-time event, but a lifelong practice. Life's changes, new roles, challenges, and relationships continuously invite us to show up freshly and authentically. Each experience of vulnerability builds our capacity for courage, creating a positive cycle of growth and connection. Moreover, the courage to be seen is an act of empowerment and liberation. It breaks the cycle of invisibility and silence that can diminish our spirit. It invites us to claim our voice, express our creativity, and pursue our passions openly. This courage sparks a ripple effect, inspiring others to do the same, and fostering communities built on honesty and acceptance. In essence, the courage to be seen transforms isolation into belonging, silence into dialogue, and fear into freedom. It is the heart of authentic living and loving, the foundation for deep and lasting connections. By embracing this courage, we reclaim our power to live fully, love freely, and be truly known. Eternal growth in love. Love is often seen as a momenta, feeling of connection, joy, and passion that lights up our lives. Yet, the deeper truth about love is that it is not static or fixed, but a continuous, evolving journey. To nurture lasting, meaningful relationships, we must embrace love as a dynamic process of eternal growth. This growth requires commitment, patience, reflection, and the willingness to transform both ourselves and our partnerships over time. It is in this unfolding journey that love reveals its deepest power and meaning. Eternal growth in love begins with the understanding that no relationship is perfect or complete from the start. Each relationship faces challenges, changes, and cycles of renewal. Just as individuals grow and evolve, so too do relationships. This natural evolution invites us to release rigid expectations of how love should be and instead cultivate openness to the unfolding experience. The capacity to grow together, to learn from each other, and to adapt is what sustains love's vitality through the years. A key aspect of this growth is embracing change. People and circumstances inevitably shift to our needs, desires, priorities, and even identities develop with time. Instead of resisting these changes or clinging to the past, thriving relationships cultivate flexibility and curiosity. Partners who support each other's individual growth while nurturing their shared bond create fertile ground for love to flourish. This mutual evolution deepens connection and fosters resilience against external stresses or internal conflicts. Growth in love also requires a commitment to continuous self-discovery. Each person brings their own history, wounds, strengths, and dreams into the relationship. The journey of love becomes a mirror, reflecting back areas for healing and transformation. By embracing this inner work, we expand our capacity for empathy, patience, and compassion. This self-awareness enriches our ability to give and receive love authentically, fostering a deeper emotional intimacy. Communication remains a vital thread weaving through eternal growth. Open, honest dialogue is the vessel through which partners share their evolving experiences, fears, and hopes. It is through these conversations that misunderstandings are cleared, needs are expressed, and shared visions are crafted. Listening deeply and speaking vulnerably cultivate a fertile soil where trust and connection can thrive. Without this ongoing exchange, even the strongest bonds risk stagnation or distance. Another important dimension of growth is forgiveness both of self and others. As humans, we inevitably make mistakes, hurt those we love, or fall short of our ideals. Forgiveness allows relationships to heal and move forward, rather than being trapped in cycles of blame or resentment. It requires humility, courage, and the willingness to see beyond imperfections to the underlying intention and humanity. When forgiveness becomes a practiced habit, love deepens beyond fleeting emotions into an enduring commitment. Eternal growth in love also encompasses cultivating gratitude and appreciation. It is easy to take for granted the presence and efforts of those closest to us, especially as familiarity grows. Yet, regularly expressing gratitude rekindles positive feelings and reinforces bonds. Celebrating each other's uniqueness, kindness, and shared moments of joy nurtures a culture of love that uplifts and inspires. Gratitude grounds us in the present, reminding us of the gifts inherent in connection. Furthermore, growth invites us to expand our definitions of love beyond romantic idealization. Real love encompasses friendship, partnership, mutual respect, shared goals, and even challenges. It acknowledges the full spectrum of human experience, including mundane routines, conflicts, disappointments, and growth opportunities. This mature perspective allows us to see love not just as a feeling to be pursued, but as an active choice and practice that requires effort, attention, and dedication. Spiritual traditions across the world have long recognized the transformative power of love as a path to greater consciousness and wholeness. Love becomes a mirror reflecting not only our partner, but also our highest self. It challenges ego-driven patterns, inviting surrender, humility, and transcendence. Through love's eternal growth, we connect to something greater than ourselves, whether that be a sense of universal compassion, divine presence, or collective humanity. This spiritual dimension of love reminds us that growth is not only about personal or relational fulfillment, but about contributing to a larger web of life. Loving deeply compels us to cultivate kindness, justice, and empathy in all our relationships and communities. It expands our vision beyond self-interest to embrace the interconnectedness of all beings. In this way, eternal growth in love becomes a force for healing not just individual hearts, but the world. Practical steps to nurture this growth include creating rituals and shared experiences that reinforce connection and commitment. Regular moments of reflection, celebration, and renewal anchor the relationship in meaning. Whether it is a weekly check-in, a yearly retreat, or simple daily acts of kindness, these intentional practices build a reservoir of shared joy and resilience. They serve as reminders of the ongoing nature of love's journey. Additionally, supporting each other's dreams and aspirations fuels growth both individually and together. When partners cheer each other on, provide encouragement, and allow space for exploration, they build a relationship dynamic grounded in respect and empowerment. This mutual support fosters a sense of partnership rather than ownership or limitation. It acknowledges that love grows richest when each person can fully express their authentic self. Challenges and conflicts are inevitable on the path of eternal growth, yet they hold transformative potential. When faced with difficulties, couples who approach conflict as an opportunity for learning rather than winning create pathways to deeper understanding and connection. Developing skills such as active listening, empathy, and collaborative problem-solving equips partners to navigate tensions constructively. These moments can become turning points that strengthen the relationship rather than fracture it. Another vital aspect is maintaining intimacy on multiple levels: emotional, physical, intellectual, and spiritual. Sustaining these diverse connections requires ongoing attention and creativity. As life's rhythms shift, couples who explore new ways to connect keep the relationship vibrant and alive. This might involve trying new activities together, sharing dreams, or simply being fully present with one another. Intimacy deepens not only through passion but through consistent, loving presence. The journey of eternal growth also invites us to cultivate patience. Love's deepest transformations often unfold gradually, requiring endurance and faith. It challenges the modern desire for instant gratification and quick fixes. By embracing patience, we learn to trust the process and honor the unfolding timing of change. This patience is an expression of reverence for the relationship's sacred potential. Importantly, eternal growth in love calls us to celebrate the ordinary moments as much as the extraordinary. It is in daily acts of kindness, laughter, shared silence, and simple presence that love roots itself most firmly. These moments weave a tapestry of connection that sustains us through life's inevitable storms. By recognizing the sacredness in everyday life, we cultivate a deep wellspring of love that nourishes both individuals and the partnership. To sustain eternal growth, it is essential to remain mindful of our own needs and boundaries while staying attuned to our partners. This balance nurtures both autonomy and togetherness, allowing the relationship to thrive without suffocation or neglect. When both partners feel respected and valued as whole individuals, the relationship becomes a safe harbor where growth can flourish freely. Finally, eternal growth in love reminds us that the most profound love is an ever-expanding journey, not a fixed destination. It is a dance of learning, forgiving, embracing, and evolving together. Through this process, we discover that love is not only about finding the right person, but becoming the right person known, who is capable of deep connection, courage, and compassion. As we embrace the path of eternal growth, we align with the timeless wisdom that love is the greatest teacher and healer. It calls us to step beyond fear, judgment, and separation into a fuller expression of our humanity. It invites us to open our hearts again and again, to risk being vulnerable, and to trust in the transformative power of connection. In this ongoing journey, every moment becomes an opportunity to deepen our love not just for others, but for ourselves as well. We learn that loving ourselves fully equips us to love others more freely and generously. Love becomes a sacred circle, expanding outward to touch every aspect of our lives and the world around us. Eternal growth in love is the ultimate invitation to live fully, to be brave in our vulnerability, and to celebrate the profound beauty of connection. It is the power that transforms lives, heals wounds, and illuminates our shared humanity. In embracing this journey, we step into a life rich with meaning, joy, and the boundless gift of love. Epilogue. As we reach the close of this journey together, it is important to remember that nurturing healthy relationships is not a destination, but an ever-unfolding pathone, filled with continual discovery, transformation, and connection. The knowledge and insights shared throughout this book are not endpoints but invitations to deepen your commitment to the art and heart of relating. Whether you are standing at the beginning of a new relationship, seeking to strengthen a long-term bond, or healing from past wounds, the principles of love, awareness, and growth remain your steadfast companions. The path of relationship is one of paradox and possibility. It challenges us to hold both our individuality and our togetherness with grace. It asks us to be vulnerable and strong, patient and courageous, grounded and open. This dynamic tension is where growth lives. It is here that we learn to listen not only to others but also to ourselves, and to speak with honesty and kindness, even when it feels difficult. This is where the language of connection finds its truest expression. At the heart of all relationships lies the profound truth that we are wired for connection. From the earliest moments of life, our brains and hearts are shaped by our interactions with others. Connection is not merely a luxury or an extra. It is a fundamental human need that nourishes our well-being and shapes our very identity. Understanding this is a vital step toward nurturing relationships that thrive. When we approach others with this awareness, we begin to see them not as obstacles or adversaries, but as fellow travelers on a shared journey. Yet, even with the best intentions, relationships can become complex, confusing, and painful. Conflict, misunderstanding, and unmet expectations are inevitable. These moments, while challenging, hold seeds of profound learning. They invite us to explore our fears, triggers, and patterns that may unconsciously shape our interactions. The journey of relational healing begins with this self-awareness, an honest and compassionate look inward that enables us to respond rather than react. Healing in relationships often means moving beyond blame and judgment toward forgiveness and empathy. It requires us to recognize our own imperfections and those of our partners without losing sight of our shared humanity. Forgiveness does not mean ignoring hurt or excusing harmful behavior. Rather, it means freeing ourselves from the heavy burden of resentment so that healing can take root. Through this process, we reclaim our power and open the door to renewed connection. Growth in relationships is not linear. There will be times of closeness and distance, harmony and discord, clarity and confusion. This rhythm mirrors the natural flow of life itself. Learning to ride these waves with awareness and grace is part of what it means to nurture healthy love. It means holding space for change, honoring each person's journey, and trusting that the relationship can evolve in ways that serve the highest good of all involved. A vital ingredient in this journey is presents the conscious act of being fully with another person, moment by moment. Presence requires us to set aside distractions, judgments, and assumptions, and to meet the other with open-hearted attention. It is in this space of true presence that connection deepens and intimacy blossoms. Cultivating presence is a daily practice, a commitment to the here and now that enriches every encounter. The courage to be authentic is another cornerstone of lasting relationships. Authenticity asks us to show up as our true selves, with all our strengths, vulnerabilities, dreams, and fears. It means risking rejection and misunderstanding in order to create a space where genuine connection can flourish. When both partners dare to be authentic, the relationship becomes a sanctuary of acceptance and love, a place where growth and healing are possible. Boundaries, too, are essential to nurturing healthy relationships. They define the limits that protect our well-being and respect our individuality. Clear boundaries create safety and clarity, allowing love to thrive without suffocation or neglect. They invite us to communicate our needs openly and to honor the needs of others with compassion. When boundaries are held with care, relationships become balanced ecosystems of mutual respect. As we continue on this path, it is important to remember the role of gratitude. Expressing appreciation for our partners and the connection we share infuses relationships with warmth and positivity. Gratitude shifts our focus from what is lacking to what is abundant, fostering a mindset that supports resilience and joy. Small acts of kindness and recognition ripple outward, strengthening the fabric of our bonds. Another profound lesson of this journey is the power of shared meaning. Relationships anchored in common values, dreams, and intentions have a sturdy foundation that weathers life's storms. Creating rituals, traditions, and shared experiences enriches this foundation and builds a sense of belonging and purpose. Together, partners craft a narrative of love that sustains them through challenges and inspires them toward growth. While nurturing healthy relationships is deeply rewarding, it also demands continual learning and adaptation. The world around us changes rapidly, and so do we. Remaining curious, open, and committed to growth allows relationships to stay vibrant and meaningful. It encourages us to explore new ways of relating, to embrace differences, and to co-create a partnership that reflects our evolving selves. Importantly, the power of us extends beyond romantic relationships. The principles of connection, communication, presence, and growth apply equally to friendships, family bonds, and community ties. Cultivating these qualities in all our relationships creates a rich web of support and belonging that nourishes us deeply. In this way, we contribute to a culture of love and empathy that radiates far beyond our immediate circles. The journey of nurturing healthy relationships also invites us to cultivate compassion both for ourselves and for others. Compassion is the gentle force that softens judgment and opens our hearts to understanding. It calls us to recognize the shared struggles and aspirations that unite us as human beings. When we approach relationships with compassion, we create space for healing, connection, and transformation. As you move forward from this book, carry with you the understanding that the power of us is not found in perfection or sameness, but in the willingness to grow, learn, and love through all of life's complexities. Relationships are living entities that reflect the depth of our commitment and the expansiveness of our hearts. By embracing this truth, you open yourself to the profound gifts that love offers, a journey of connection that enriches your life and the lives of those you hold dear. Remember, too, that you are not alone on this path. Every person walking the terrain of relationships faces joys and struggles, moments of clarity and doubt. The collective wisdom of humanity, passed down through stories, teachings, and shared experiences, offers guidance and inspiration. By drawing on this wisdom and your own inner strength, you cultivate resilience and hope. In the end, nurturing healthy relationships is an act of radical love that sees beyond limitations, love that embraces growth and change, love that dares to be vulnerable and brave. It is an ongoing invitation to deepen your connection not only with others but with yourself. This connection becomes the wellspring from which all meaningful relationships flow. May this journey inspire you to embrace the power of us fully with open hearts, curious minds, and courageous spirits. May you find joy in the dance of relating and wisdom in the challenges that arise. And may your relationships be a source of healing, growth, and boundless love throughout your life. The path of nurturing healthy relationships stretches endlessly before you, an ever-unfolding journey of connection, discovery, and transformation. Step forward with trust and gratitude, knowing that with each step, you are weaving the tapestry of a life rich with meaning, purpose, and love.